just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Bloke in a Bar, but really brought to you by Cattleman's Brewing Co. A smooth, crisp, easy drinking mid-strength goes down with a good meal at night, but also goes down while you're out in the farm, while you're watching the footy, while you're watching any sport, the cricket. So grab a case of Cattleman's Brewing Co. from cattlemansbrewingco.com.au. Nationwide delivery. They've also got some stores, so go to their Instagram, you'll be able to see their stores. But I have with me the great Josh Morris. How you going, brother?
Mate, I'm getting you a job as a salesman for us, mate. That was awesome.
Mate, I've done it a few times. Mate, how are you enjoying retirement? You know, you've gone straight into the business side of things, but how is life post stress of rugby league?
Yeah, mate, it's good. It's a bit more relaxed, spending a bit more time with the kids at home. I don't have any guilt about having a beer midweek and worrying about having to do some fitness sessions so that I don't come back to pre-season too out of shape. Got to the gym for the first time in 8 weeks the other day and was pretty sore after that. But I'm just really enjoying it, mate. Obviously, the beer is keeping me busy and just enjoying that aspect of it, learning new challenges every day.
And so what was, this season for you, was it always the plan to retire, or was it something that kind of you realised mid-year? Was it something that, Brett, obviously him going down, did that help the decision? What was the thought process to retirement?
I think it was similar to the year before. I think it was get halfway through the season and then make a decision then, but I think I already knew by halfway through the season. And my body was just, I was coming up with a different niggle each week and they were just getting the better of me and weren't allowing me to train and play at a level that I wanted to. And then, so that kind of made the decision a whole lot easier. And then, the writing was on the wall when I did my hammy. That was the first time that I'd torn my hammy over my whole career. So, the body was telling me it was time to give it up. And like I said, in my retirement, I've got no regrets and leave the game very content.
Mate, I mean, you did more than enough. Did when Brett went down, did that help the decision? You know what I mean? It's in like, well, if he's not going to be around, obviously you've played without him plenty of times, but it's kind of also like part of going to Roosters was to play with him, like such a good way to end your career. Did that affect the decision at all or not really?
No, it was my own decision. Obviously, it was disappointing. We wanted to walk off the field in our last game together, but rugby league doesn't always give you those fairy tales. So, it sucked that I wouldn't be able to play for the rest of the year alongside him. But, like I said, I think my body was telling me it was time as well. And, just even, that pre-season as well, it was really tough and getting home from pre-season as well and not being able to bend over to pick up the kids and, on weekends being too sore to do anything with them as well. I think that kind of planted the seed a little bit in my head then, and then obviously throughout the year, it only made the decision clearer.
And walk us through the decision for the beer. Now, I've spoken to Brett about it, but obviously, there's seven on you altogether. So obviously, all of you would have different, not maybe different reasons, but different perspective as to how it started or why it started or whatever. Walk us through the great Cattleman's Brewing Co. How did it start, why did it start, and how are you enjoying running it?
Well, it just started from our punters club. We called ourselves the Cattleman's Crew, and the reason we did that was because we would play golf together. We'd go to the pub, have a few beers, normally mid-strength, and a punt, and then we'd go back to someone's house and have a barbecue and finish it with a Cattleman's cutlet steak.
Okay.
It was, so we called ourselves the Cattleman's Crew off that, and then when we had our trips away, we basically would be sitting back at our hotel or our unit that we're staying at, drinking Great Northern, going, how good would it be if we were drinking our own beer this time next year? And it got to a stage where we'd said it a couple of times and we went, you know what, let's just do it.
Yeah, 100%.
What do we got to lose? So we did a fair bit of taste testing, like you would have known. That part is the fun part.
Yes, absolutely.
Getting 20-litre kegs dropped off to your house every 3 or 4 weeks and then getting the boys around to taste them. And there was a bit of a process there to come up with our flavour. But yeah, we're stoked with what we've been able to come up with, and we're only just starting, but it's been really positive.
I love the colours. When I speak to people about business, and mate, I've still got a long way to go in business, a long way. I've done fucking nothing. But if I have any bit of advice to give to people, I always say, like, when you're picking colours or the branding, you want to do something that isn't necessarily it's not considered the normal way to go. For example, if anyone said to you, there's going to be brown and orange cans, you'd be like, that's disgusting. Those two colours shouldn't be done. But if it's counterintuitive, that means that it can also have a big impact. And what I love about you guys is the green and the kind of cream colour you've got here. I haven't seen a beer that has these colours. That definitely gives me a feel of country, being a country lad myself. It's an internal joke, don't worry. But it definitely gives me a feel of the country, but also a unique vibe.
Yeah, that was it. We thought it was more heritage or traditional colours, also associated with the country as well. We just come up with that. It's the whole process has been really enjoyable. We even had a night where we tried to design the can, so we all got it.
Oh, really?
we all got a couple of texters and some pens and drew a can.
There would have been some
doing
shockers.
It with a couple of beers, mate.
Oh, mate.
I reckon my 4-year-old daughter could draw better than some of the blokes and some of the ideas that we came up with.
Yeah,
but we kind of developed a brief for what we wanted to, and then took it to a designer and came up with that as the finished product. So
was this the first draft they came back with, or
there were a couple?
Yeah,
so okay. We voted on that, and I love the look of the can, and so do all the boys. And we've had a lot of people say that too. I guess what I was saying more so, we wanted to be that traditional, go back to that traditional kind of beer where, when we first started drinking at pubs, there were only 3 or 4 beers. Yeah. Oh, well, especially in Kiama where I grew up, there were 3 or 4 beers on tap, and that was it. You picked one and you drank that. So, I guess we're trying to get back to that a little bit as well. Yeah,
no, we're the same with Bloke in a Bar, like with the flavour of beer, and we spoke about with Brett. Don't get me wrong, like there's a space for the pale ales, and I can have 1 or 2 pale ales. But when it comes to the beer I prefer, it's the beer that tastes like real beer.
Yeah, and that's it. And you want to be able to sit on something, whether you're at the pub all day or whether you're on the course or punting on a horse.
Yeah.
You want to be drinking a decent beer, and we feel like we've got that beer as well. And
that's a good line. On the course or punting on a horse?
Actually, in one of our little jingles we've got.
Yeah. Okay, I like it. I'm with you. I think it's good. So make sure to grab a can of the mid-strength Cattleman's Brewing Co, guys. Fantastic, smooth, crisp, easy drinking beer that tastes like real beer. But back to yourself. Now, obviously, you mentioned you were born in Kiama.
Born in St George. But
born in St George. Actually, sorry, Brett said the same thing. So I fucked that up again. Fuck. So you moved to Kiama. Now, growing up, like, was it always... Now, obviously your father is an incredibly good footy player, but in saying that, when you grow up, he's just your father. To everyone else, he's a superstar. To him, he's your father. But were you always just drawn to rugby league, or did you just do a lot of sports?
We did a lot of sports, obviously. Yeah. Anything that could get us a day off school, we played. Yeah. But no, rugby league was always there. I think it first started when I was 4 years old, and
really playing
in the under sixes. Yeah.
I
played under sevens for 3 years. I think.
No way.
Pummeled the first year, and then by the time I was 7, I
beast.
Pretty good by that stage. But no, rugby league was always big in the family. We were always carrying around a footy. We'd be playing it out in the backyard. When it got too dark, we'd be playing it on our knees in the lounge room. And you probably were similar. And I guess it was always, when people asked us what we wanted to do when we were older, we wanted to play footy, and there wasn't an option B, I guess. And when you've had a dream for that long, you go after it.
And so, at what stage did you and your brother, obviously you're twins, but did you begin to excel at the same time, or was one of you excelling and then the other one caught up? You know what I mean? Like, was it?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, like with the rep side. So like for the Group 7 side, like I would make it one year and Brett would miss out, and then he would make it and I would miss out, and then similar with the Steelers, he ended up making the Steelers first, and I missed out, and then it was SG Ball, which was under 18s, was the first year I made the Steelers side. And, from that point, we're in the same side together, and we said, rightio, let's give it a crack and see how we go. And it was always about trying to beat each other, and normally that meant being in the top 3, and that held us in really good stead throughout our whole career.
And when did it become apparent to you that did you get contract offers from multiple clubs, or was it just obviously the Steelers down there and you'd go into the Dragons?
Yeah, it was just Steelers down there at that stage, and then progressed through the ranks there, and you thought I'd probably be playing my whole career at the Dragons, but you find out very quickly that stuff like that doesn't happen, and football is a business, and I found out that pretty early on, so probably was a good thing. Yep.
And so do you remember, did you and Brett go to the first preseason together, or was it staggered start with it, as in the first grade preseason?
No, we're in that together, So
what was that like, rocking up to that first few sessions?
Oh, we didn't talk to anyone. With the blokes like Matt Cooper, Mark Gasnier, Benny Hornby, Jason Rolls, Sean Timmins, Trent Barrett, all great players.
Crazy.
If you try to talk to them, they just tell you to shut up anyway. But if they, I guess it was kind of one of those things. If they give you a ribbing or something like that, and played jokes on you and stuff like that, it was because they actually liked you.
Yep.
So you had
Very strange world.
it was back then. So if you were getting jokes played on you, it was normally a good sign that the boys were starting to accept you. And they were all really good for myself and Brett. And it was just it was awesome being able to see those guys go about their work and then being able to compete against them on the field.
And do you remember any training sessions or any army camps or camps in general that really woke you up to like, wow, this is first grade. This is first grade.
Oh, probably like the first couple of opposed sessions where you're playing on the wing or you're playing at fullback and bringing the ball back and running at the wrong person and just getting jolted, and you're like, oh, okay, is this what it's going to be like every time I run the ball back? So you remember that kind of stuff as a young fella, but you always go as hard as you can when you're younger to try and impress them, and I guess that's probably what me and Brett did.
And so when did you start getting a feeling like, shit, I could be about to make my debut here? Because obviously you debuted 2007. Did you get a feeling at the start of that, like in an off season, that there may be a chance, or did it come out of nowhere?
Yeah, it was probably more so that pre-season. In the 2006 year, Brett debuted, but I was playing Premier League back then, and ended up, I think I scored something like 24 tries that year in Premier League. So I was hoping to potentially get a game towards the back end of that year, but knew that I was, really close and knocking on the door, and needed to have another big pre-season. And I think I played Charity Shield at fullback in the pre-season there, and then played well, and then debuted first game in 2007 versus the Titans in their first game.
Where'd you debut at? What position?
Fullback. Debuted as a fullback.
Wow.
In the Titans' first ever game.
Wow. What was that like, playing like them for their first ever game?
Yeah, that was awesome. I guess it was at Suncorp as well. So I think at that stage their home ground was Carrara. I think it was Carrara. Yeah. So it was an old field, but they made sure that their first game was at Suncorp. So it was a Sunday arvo, 45,000 there.
Oh, yeah.
Put the first bomb up and the crowd's going wild. I'm just like,
in the cold,
don't drop it.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was a bit daunting, but we managed to get the win that day, and it was a good memory.
And is there anything, like, do you remember the phone call or anything specific from the game where you were kind of like, fuck? Or that you enjoyed, or?
I remember, I got ran over by Chris Walker. He scored their first try in the corner, but I got there and he just ran straight over me. Probably a couple of years later, I probably would have been able to stop him, but I was still pretty small at that stage. I hadn't put on all my weight. But I not long ago texted him and told him that, and he couldn't even remember it. So it's funny how you remember some things, and that was 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
far out. At Suncorp, like your debut, 42,000 or 45,000, whatever, doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, it was a pretty good debut.
And so you make your debut. Do you stay in the side, or do you move to the wing? You know what I mean?
I think I played fullback the whole year that year.
Really? It's crazy because I just see you as a centre, you know?
Yeah, I was a bit lighter back then. But certainly centre was a position that I'd like to play. But at that stage, when I'd come through the 20s and reserve grade, I kind of was playing on the wing and fullback. So I ended up training the 2008 preseason. I did the whole lot at fullback.
Yep.
Played the first round versus the West Tigers. We lost, and I got moved to the wing. So I did all that extra running for nothing. So I was a bit filthy. But throughout that 2008 season, I ended up playing everywhere. I played wing, fullback, centre.
Okay.
And then I was coming off contract and had a couple of offers, and it just so happened that the Bulldogs offered me the centre role there, and they had a new coach in Kevin Moore coming in, and he said that he'd support me, and just being able to hear that gave me confidence, and I ended up signing with the Doggies and went on to play 10 years there.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think, like, you would have in your head been like, Dragons is my team, blah, blah, 2 years in, boom, all of a sudden it's got changed. But just quickly so 2007, you make the City versus Origin match. What was that like, getting the call up for that? Was that give you a lot of confidence? Like, oh shit, I'm actually progressing here towards maybe playing for New South Wales. Yeah,
that was pretty crazy. I think I'd only played 6 or 7 games at that stage. So to get called up to that game, there were some pretty good players playing in that. So that was my first taste of it, and that intensity. And I guess it does give you that confidence that if you keep working hard and you're heading in the right direction, then those rep jumpers aren't too far away. So I can't remember the score that day, but I remember getting a mad hip pointer. I think I dived in the corner of that game, and I think it was Hainsey. Hainsey slid in with his knee and got me right on the hip. Oh, fuck. And I ended up missing. I think I missed that because it was maybe on the Friday night. I think we played the next night, or I think that was Nightingale's debut. Oh, really? Yeah, he ended up playing. Fucking hell. So it's funny how things work out. Yep. And okay, so but 2008 though, you make the Prime Minister's side, and you go in a match against Papua New Guinea. You play on the wing. So you went over Papua New Guinea? Yep. What was that experience like as a young fella? Oh, mate, that was unbelievable. I guess you hear about how passionate they are, but you don't realise until you get there and you get to the airport and there's 20,000 people at the airport, and you can't walk through the airport because they're all just grabbing you, and they're all so strong. Yeah. I remember Carl Webb was there, and Carl Webb was a big bloke, but he was freaking out. Like, he just what's going on? Starting to feel cramped. Yeah. I think at one stage he's like, "Get off me!" like wigged out. But they love their footy, and I think it was Stanley Jean's last game. Yeah. Papua New Guinea legend, and I just remember I was on the wing. He did a chip and chase, and the ground was rock hard, and it sat up in front of me, and I'm waiting to get the ball. Next minute, I'm looking up at the sky. I'm on the 20-metre line. The ball went dead on the full. He hit me that hard. The ball went 30 feet. The whole crowd just started laughing, and I'm just looking there, just got helped up by one of the boys, but that was it. Just went on after that, and then when the siren goes, it's just pandemonium. Yeah, they just run on the field, mate? Yeah, they don't care. Fuck. Yeah. Did you give them any kit? I don't think I walked out of there with any, and that kind of happened for. I ended up going over there 3 times. I did really? Port Moresby, I did Lay, and did Kokopo, and yeah, you don't leave with much gear, and you're happy to give it away to them as well, because that's going to be a treasured memory for life.
Absolutely, it's such a good experience for guys like yourself that eventually go into rep footy to, I guess, see how much they love it over there and make you appreciate how lucky you are to be doing it.
Yeah, and also to see how blokes prepare as well and train and stuff like that. You can always learn off other blokes as well. So normally those blokes are close to going on tours for the Aussie side or playing Origin as well. So it was always good to see how the different players prepared as well.
And so, as you said, the doggies, they come and knock 'em. Was it a matter of the contract they offered was too good, or was there other factors where the Dragons not really coming to the table? What was the reason for going to the doggies?
So I had an offer with the Dragons, but it was under Brownie, and then I think halfway through the year, Wayne Bennett came on and basically said that I was a winger and halved the contract. Basically I went from being told that I was going to get a certain amount to having it halved, and then I had an offer from the Roosters as well. But at that stage, Anthony Michello hurt his back, and they weren't sure about if he was going to play again or not, and they ended up re-signing a couple of people to cover him. So then that deal fell through as well. But I probably would have signed with the Dogs anyway, just given the opportunity that they were going to give me the confidence that they expressed in my ability, and being able to play in that centre position, which I thought was my position that I was best suited to, and that made the decision easier. And like I said, 10 years later, it was a great time that I'd spent there.
And so, being a young fella and, Wayne coming in, who notoriously pays wingers minimum. Like, that's his go-to. If you're on the wing for Wayne, you fall over the line, you score a try, you get paid minimum. Was it shocking, though? Be like, well, hang on a sec, I just had a contract, and now it's been halved. Was that shocking for a young fella?
Yeah, I guess that's, when you realise that footy is a business. You try and be loyal, but you got to look after yourself, and in that instance, I thought that I probably would have stayed there, but Wayne had obviously differing opinions on what position I was best suited to at that stage, and I guess it was more so about me backing myself and my ability, and that was, I guess, the reason why.
And so you rock up to the doggies. And this is pre-Desi era. So this is, did you say Kevin Moore?
Yeah, Kevin Moore was coach.
And so what's that like for that first, couple of seasons at the Doggies? Because, 2009, you get named in the 40-man squad for New South Wales. Then you get selected for game 2 and 3. So I guess for you personally, you would kind of feel vindicated of like, well, I was right to have confidence in my own ability. What was that like for you that first few years?
Yeah, it was good. I ended up playing with some great players at the Dogs. They'd just signed. They'd come off the wooden spoon in 2008. They'd signed Mick Ennis, Ben Hannett, myself, Greg Eastwood, David Stagg, Michael Hodgson. So there was kind of a new energy that we kind of brought to the team, and we played some really entertaining footy as well. And I thought we were pretty close to winning that year, but for myself personally, ended up having a really good partnership. Bryson Goodwin as well, we signed. He was my wing partner there, and I think between us we scored 40 tries.
Wow.
Was able to go on and play centre for New South Wales, go away on a Four Nations tour, and also get Dally M Centre of the Year that year. So,
oh my God. It just shows that, like, and Wayne is one of the GOATs, but everyone gets it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how good you are, you can get it wrong.
Yeah, so, certainly felt, vindicated and like I'd proven a point to myself there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, that year sticks out for me because of the style of football that we played.
Yeah.
And just the memories of playing with some of those blokes.
Yeah.
Noddy was also there. Noddy got signed.
Oh, really? How good is that?
Playing blokes like General and Bobcat and Hasem as well in his final year. There were some really good memories from that year.
And do you remember the call-up for New South Wales? Do you remember? Like, were you just like far out? Like, I'm going to play Origin in a
Yeah,
game
it was.
2 and 3 decider.
Yeah, it was a weird one because in the second game I got called up, and then I came off the bench.
Really? Far
And
out.
that's the only time in my whole career I've ever come off the bench.
fuck
And I was never nervous in games or at any stage, but like I was sweet watching the game. And then as soon as he said, "All right, you're on," I was so nervous. It's the most nervous I've ever been because it was just completely
foreign
to me. And I was like, fuck, what have I got to do when you come off the bench? Like, I've got to try and get in the game as quick as I can and get up to the speed of the game. So I was fucking blowing straight away.
Bloody oath. Did you go on at centre or in the middle? Or?
No, I ended up going on the wing.
On the wing, okay.
I think Joel Monaghan got pushed into the centres. And then in that third game, I started in the centres. And that was up at Suncorp. Queensland had already clinched the series. It was about us trying to avoid the whitewash, and that was a pretty eventful game. That was when Brett White chinned Steve Price.
Oh yeah,
and then
fuck. Walk us through
the old bomb up, went up. So I missed what happened in the fight because we went down the short side. We ended up scoring down the short side, but then turned around. There were people running in from left, right, and centre. So I had no idea what happened until I saw it on the big screen. I was like, "Oh shit!" and then Trent Barrett, who was 5'8", he goes, "Can you fight, Moz?" I'm like, "Mate, I've never been in a fight in my life." He goes, "Well, get your hands up because it's about to be on." And I was like, "Oh shit!" So they get the ball, kick it out to touch, and then Lockie puts up the bomb, and then everyone just started running towards this bomb, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Luckily, I didn't have to throw any, but that was a crazy game. We ended up getting away with a win there, and I guess that feels more like my Origin debut.
Yeah, because you started rather than just be panicking off the bench going, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
In a decider too.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's wild. In a decider. Wow. Okay, well, is there anything you remember in the changing rooms after? Any chat or speaking to your brother or?
I guess it's just those messages from the family, just saying how proud they are of you and stuff like that, and I guess that spurred Brett on to play Origin as well. I think I played Origin before him, but he played for Australia before me. So
and also, like he
debuted.
and then but you played New South Wales. That's
wild. So
it's wild.
Yeah, there's always been one that hasn't been at the same time. Although my Australia debut came, he was playing in that. That was against France over in Paris. So
So 2009 was also the year that you and him had that fake punch on.
Yep.
And walk us through the fake punch on. That was hilarious because, like, at first, I think I remember watching it going, "Oh shit," and like thinking that you were actually blueing, and then I was like, "Oh, okay, it's a G up. It's a G up."
Yeah. I think it was just before half time. I think I'd passed the ball to Bry, I think, and then he got tackled out. Bo Scott, King and Niggle. I think he must have done something to upset Bry, and Bry's reacted, and then I've kind of been around it, but I felt someone come from behind me and grab me, and I'm like, "That's Brett for sure." So I just turned around and just started pretending to swing at him, and he did the same thing. And Matt Chechen was the referee. He's like, "Oh, break it up, break it up." And then when he realised we were mucking around, you can see him walk off laughing. And Kevin Moore, who was who was coach, he was walking down to the sheds, and he goes, "What was the crowd going on about?" And I go, "Oh, me and Brett were just having a fake fight." And he goes, "Oh, that would have been bloody hilarious." So even he thought that was funny. And then even still today, people still talk about it and
that is great.
Have a laugh about it. So I guess, the way me and Brett have played, we've always played the game hard, fair, but we've been able to have a laugh or a joke at our own expense. And I guess that's what people appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. It was awesome. It was, I loved it. It was, because like it's such a serious moment. The boys are fully arching up, everything's tough, and then you see you two fucking pretending to fight in the background.
He reckons he would have beaten me.
Oh, wow. You know what? We need a celebrity boxing match. B-Moz versus J-Moz. You're like knocking each other out at the same
It's
time.
just body shots only, mate. Leave the face alone.
So that year you finish as Canterbury's top try scorer. It's an incredible year for you. You play Origin. You also play against France in your debut. Do you remember that feeling of putting on that Australian jersey, going, "Wow, this is crazy"?
Yeah, I still do. I still remember the national anthem, standing there alongside Brett, best mate and brother, thinking, we've made it.
Yep.
This is the ultimate. We're playing for our country together. We grew up in the backyard pretending to play for Australia, and now we're here. And it was almost like we were playing in the backyard that day. We just went out there and had fun. I think he may have even got 3 tries. I think I got 2. And
Wow.
yeah, it was just a very memorable day. And like I said, I'll never forget that.
Mate, it's one thing to debut for your country, but like debuting with your brother, that's fucking wild. Okay, so in 2010, you score your first 4-try haul against the Roosters, and that's when 2010 when they made the final, or
Yeah.
so it was a big win by you boys. Do you remember that, the 4-try haul?
Yeah, I do. I remember one of those tries was the PSC passing it into Marty Kennedy's head, who tripped over off the kickoff. And then that bounced towards Benny Roberts. He picked it up, passed it to me, and everyone kind of swarmed on me. And I just spun out of it, and the try line was right in front of me. I think that was for the 3rd try. And those days you don't forget. It was like everything came off.
Right.
Yeah, even Benny Barber, he was there that day. He came off the bench and got a hat-trick as well in like 25 minutes or something. And they ended up going on to play in the grand final that year. I think after that they had a crisis meeting, and we probably kicked them back into shape. Yeah,
bloody oath. After it's 60-14, far out. Do you remember the 4th try and just going?
Yeah, I think that was. I think we made a break and got grubbered in, and I was just. It literally just bounced up for me, and I was waiting for it on the try line and just went like that and put it down. And
it's 4 tries.
It was just one of those days.
Yeah. You were selected on the right wing to play against Wales in the 2011 Rugby League Four Nations. So, but 2010, you played for New South Wales as well?
No, 2010. So, I think it was first round. We played West Tigers. It might have been 2010. I did my PCL.
Yep.
And it gave me grief for half the year.
Yeah, just playing.
It just wasn't right, and was just giving me grief. So, I think 2010 and 2011, I kind of had injuries to start both seasons, and then missed out playing Origin. And I think Brett played 10 and 11.
Yep.
So, that kind of burnt me a bit, but ended up getting back in the side 2012.
Yeah, well, 2012 rolls around, you get NRL Centre of the Year for the 2nd time, and you play in a grand final. You nearly scored a try, which would have brought the Canterbury back into the game, but the ball was knocked out of his hands by Melbourne, a fullback, Billy Slater. Was that when he slid in with his fucking...
No, so we made a break. I still remember it because I've never seen a ball bounce that high. Benny Barber made a break. I kind of went underneath him, and he went through, and he kicked it back to me, which we'd done a few times that year. It just didn't bounce up enough for me, so I kicked it again.
Yep.
And just as I was about to get it, it was literally there, and then ended up like way above my head. So I had to try and jump for it.
Yep.
And because I'd already touched it, Billy then hit it, so it made it a knock on.
Oh.
And that was pretty much over the line, I think. So,
and
I think that was with about. It would have been with about 10 minutes to go, I reckon, and it would have been next to the post. Would have been 14-10, I think, at that stage. Yeah, so that one burns, and I still haven't watched that game.
Really?
Yeah.
So 2012, you're playing great footy, you're rolling towards the grand final. Do you remember the grand final week, building up to it? Was it nerve-wracking? Was it fun? What was it like?
It was probably a little bit more tense than the second time around. I was confident that we could get the job done. I think we'd played them twice that year and beaten them both times, and it felt like we'd had a really good final series, but they were just too good on the day.
Yep.
They come up with a couple of trick plays to get us off guard, and in that, I suppose in that grand final, I walked off the field pretty happy knowing that I couldn't have played any better.
Yeah.
Whereas in 2014, I just felt like I didn't have the best game and
Yeah.
felt a whole lot more hollow. And yeah, it was just, I guess it sucks. Those boys would know that played this year that it's just a hollow feeling.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there watching
What
the
if-
boys celebrate, just wishing it could be you. And
Yep.
unfortunately, I had to do that twice.
And so 2012 in that grand final, was that the infamous James Graham, Billy Slater situation? What was the feeling like on the field? Like, because that was a pressure cooker. Did you guys realise what had happened, or was it more after the fact that you'd realised what had happened?
I didn't have any idea what had happened there. But yeah, he ended up paying a pretty big
Massive
price for that
price.
one.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a bit to come out of that.
Yep. And what was the feeling like on the field? Of did you feel that the tensions rising after that, or was it just footy as usual?
Nah, it's just footy, mate.
Yeah,
You know
always
what
footy.
it's like.
Yeah.
Emotion gets taken out of the game pretty quick, and
Yeah.
if one side holds on for it too long, it's
Yeah.
not a good thing. So
Well, yeah. Usually they get too emotional and they get beaten.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, 2012. But what was it like? You win Dally M Centre of the Year for the second time. Where's your head at that point of your career where you're, a premier centre, one of the best, if not the best centre in the game? What's the goal for you? Is it grand final wins, Origin wins? Where's your head at there?
Yeah, I think every player tries to they want to win a grand final, and that was I'd already played for Australia and New South Wales, so that was kind of what I wanted to do, and that goal ended up eluding me my whole career.
Crazy.
But I think under Desi I played some of my best footy.
Yeah.
He was a pretty hard taskmaster, but he got the best out of me. And
Any Desi stories?
not that I can think of off the top of my head. He's different to what you see
Yeah.
on TV as to what he is around his players.
Yep.
He's fiercely loyal to his players. If a journalist had written a bad story about one of the boys and the boys were upset about it, you would hear Desi call that journalist and absolutely tear shreds off him.
Really?
Yeah,
Far out.
I think he even banned some from walking in the gates at Belmore.
Really?
Yeah, so he was.
I agree with that shit.
Yeah, he was really protective of his
Yep.
players, and in turn the players loved him and wanted to play for him. So he did have some long video sessions though. He did have.
What's the longest video session you reckon?
I think the game goes for 80 minutes. We did a 2-hour video session one time, and
That's
Chris
painful.
Nanini, who's pretty laid back, I think he fell asleep in one of them, and Desi yelled at him, and
Yeah.
it was hilarious, waking him up. But I think I even nodded off in one of them one
Yeah.
day, and
Far
he was
out.
asking me a question, and one of the boys was trying to tap me to wake me up, and I just went, "Yeah, no, I agree with whatever you said, mate." Yeah, sweet. So, but I guess that's the good thing about him. His video sessions are so in depth. When you go out to play, you feel like you know the opposition better than they know themselves, and
Yep, absolutely.
you go out with another level of confidence. And I think you saw that with the side when Tommy got back, and they went to another level and got better as the year progressed. So
Yep, absolutely. In regards to journos and that, like I reckon if you, as a club, if you've got a journo that's writing baseless articles ripping a player, I reckon you should have the right to say, all right, well, you can't come. Unless, like, if it's true, then okay, fair enough. Like, if the article is based in truth and there's evidence and you've got sources, then fair enough. But some of the baseless articles that get written, like, if I'm a coach, I'm like, nah. Until you learn to at least write what's true or source your articles, then why should we let you?
yeah, I guess that's the thing that kind of changed from when it first started to when I finished. I guess some clubs would actually have like 2 or 3 journalists that they would just talk to non-stop, and they'd be the only ones that would come.
Yeah.
And they'd find out if there was any stories and let them know before, and
Yeah. Create that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scratch my
I
back
just
off
think
that.
that's probably been lost with the amount of media, I guess, platforms. There's so many different people
Yep.
coming, and that's where those stories can come out that aren't factual and
Yep.
and stuff like that. So I guess that's probably the big difference of where that's at from when I first started to now.
Yeah, because back in the day, like, it was a relationship of like because you had that relationship, you couldn't afford to break it. You couldn't afford to burn that bridge.
Yeah.
And certain clubs would deal with certain journalists because they'd be like, they know that journalist is at least, the journalist is aware that if he writes a bullshit article that's not true, then the club's just going to be like, all right, you don't get nothing then.
Yeah. There was a bit of respect there, and the players respected the journalists as well because they only saw them.
Yeah.
They felt comfortable around them, and
yeah.
So I guess that's probably why it is what it is like now. I guess
players literally used to be mates with them, literally like, mate, let's go have a beer, rah rah, and journos would keep certain things off the record that didn't need to be on the record. Whereas now it's a very there's like a wall between the players and the journos, which just doesn't help anyone. You know?
Yeah, like they've got a job to do, obviously.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that gap has definitely gotten wider as my career went on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, I remember even at the start of my career, it was a much friendlier relationship. They were almost your mate. And again, I'm not saying that they're not your mate now. But you're right, they got a job to do, and we totally understand that. But I wish there was a good middle ground because you get better stories that way.
Yeah, 100%.
If you can trust the journo, you're going to tell him more stuff, or her more stuff. Okay, now so 2014, the grand final against South. What's that lead in like? Are you remembering the pain of 2012? Are you pumped? Like, what's it like?
Yeah, so 2014 was a bit of a different season. So 12 we were kind of in the top four from pretty much the start of the year. But in 14 we had a lot of injuries and we didn't really have the same team on the park throughout the whole year. And it was more so, Desi was like, don't worry, boys, we'll be fine. We just need to get to the finals.
Yep.
I think we finished 7th.
Yeah.
I think week 1 we played Melbourne down in Melbourne and ended up beating them 34-14, I think maybe.
Wow.
We give them a touch up, and then we ended up having to play all 4 games to make the finals, to the grand final, sorry. So we ended up losing Mick in the prelim final.
Massive,
he was massive for us. And then we had a few blokes busted as well. So by the time we got to the grand final, we probably weren't as strong as what we could be. And I think you probably saw that in the game, that kind of reflected it. I think for 60 minutes, it was really, really tight. Yeah. And then in that last 20, they just
couldn't go on.
Yeah, they just blew us away. And like I said, I guess that was one of the ones where, I wasn't really happy with the way I played. And then just left a really hollow feeling and, really sucked. But yeah, they, like I said, in that last 20 minutes, they took it to us and ended up getting the win. So for their club, that was a historic moment for them as well.
Yep. But I mean, even yourself that year dealt with substantial injury as well. Origin series that you eventually went on at game 1, you do your PCL.
Yep.
Walk us through that game 1 and also walk us through the mentality before. Were you guys basically like, enough's enough? We are not losing another series.
Yeah, so that was kind of the catch cry from Loz. It was, enough's enough. You've got to do whatever it takes, really. Yep. I'm not too sure when I hurt my knee, but I just remember coming down on a kick chase and my leg just locked up and I was like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
And then, so I got through that set of defence and then we went down the other end and I got past the ball and I was kind of limping and I just kicked it. And I was like, because I didn't want to get tackled.
Yep.
And ended up going dead. So they got me off to the sideline there and then the physio was testing my knee and said, I think you've done your ACL.
Oh my God.
So I was like, oh, fuck. But then Brett had obviously hurt himself earlier in the game and I could see that they were talking and could see that they were setting up on the other side of the field to start coming back towards Brett, and knowing that they were short and, instinct just takes over. I didn't want him to make a tackle that he didn't have to, so just got up and ran and got back into the line. Surprised G.I. was probably one of the only times I surprised him.
Yeah.
And then managed to defend that set.
Yeah.
And just they tried to get me off as quick as they could, and we ended up going on to win that one. Obviously missed the second one, which sucked, but that was, I guess, as Brett said earlier, like that dressing room after the game, everyone was busted. There wasn't one bloke that wasn't sore, and I reckon we probably slept about half an hour after that game between us because we were both pretty sore. And then myself and Brett got to present the boys the jumpers in Game 2. So, that was a massive honour, and it got emotional at times, but, Oz was awesome for letting us do that. Game 3, I managed to come back and play in Game 3. First kick chase down, I ran and made the tackle, ended up ripping the scar tissue in the PCL again. So pretty much played the whole game with it done again, and ended up missing probably another 3 or 4 weeks. I'd done every single fitness test that was required of me over that time, so it wasn't like I was limping or anything like that. I ticked every single box. If I hadn't ticked the boxes, the Bulldogs wouldn't have let me play.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was just one of those things. I think I just came down on it, hit my knee, and kind of scraped it along the ground and just kind of ripped it all again. So that was a little bit frustrating. And then towards the back end of that year, it was a little bit niggly as well. So, but like I said, it was that Origin series, something I'm very proud of. And all the boys who are in that side, just did whatever it took.
Yep. And you're credited, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but to the fans, you're credited very by a lot of fans. You did the best job on GI. Like, obviously GI still is GI, but a lot of New South Wales fans, that out of all the people that defended GI, you were the only one that had some success of sometimes, or most of the time, shutting him down. It is GI.
Yeah.
What was that? Something you were aware of, like a task that was in front of you that was arguably the hardest task you'll ever have on a footy field?
Yeah, I knew that was my job.
Yep.
I was a left-sided player, but I had to go to the right, and that was because of my defence. So, I accepted that responsibility and that challenge and really enjoyed it. And, sometimes he got the better of me. He's pretty hard to keep him quiet the whole game. But I feel like I did a really good job of him, and I really enjoyed those challenges. Sometimes I'd be in the gym and people were like, "Why are you doing like the jam where you throw up?" I'm like, because that's what it's like getting fended by this bloke. So I got to be able to have that power to do it back to him. Or if I was doing high pulls or something like that in the gym, I'd be doing 110, 120, and they're like, I'm like, well, most blokes aren't that heavy, so if I can do this, I've got the strength to be able to do something like that to them. So, I tried to get really strong to counteract, his strength as well. And as I said, I just really enjoyed that battle. And normally, if I was the better on that night, we would get the win. Yep,
it truly is. Like, Greg Inglis, the amount of times that pre-you as well, pre your defence of him, that he would just win games for Queensland was just wild. Did Laurie Daly or any of the coaches, did they specifically speak to you about that? Like, J-Moz, we need you to do a job because it goes a long way to winning.
Yeah. Like, there were those conversations, and they'd ask how I was going to defend him during the week, and if I had anything that I needed to do, or get someone to run at me or do this and do that to kind of simulate it, but it's pretty hard to simulate him.
Honestly.
So, but, mate, you look at that Queensland side.
Yeah.
It could almost be an immortal side.
Literally. I mean, they're so... the luck for that many players to be born, like, it just won't happen again.
Yeah.
It just won't happen again.
And, that was... it was daunting, but as I said, in that 14 series, it was just like, we're doing whatever
it takes.
Took.
Was there anything on the field, like, looking across and seeing GI, any little tells that you could kind of see where GI you felt like he was going certain ways, or he was going to go overs, anything like that?
It was more so about noticing when they wanted to get him early ball. So it would be more so looking up and seeing if JT or Billy were there, and they were talking to him to try and say, I'm going to get it to you early or something like that. And then whenever it was, those long balls came, it was about just getting up right in front of him as
Take
he was
space
catching
away.
it,
Yep.
try and get in close enough so that fend was ineffective. And,
Yep.
you know, if it was just try and do enough to get it down or enough to hold on to him, slow him down so that other people come in.
Yep, mate. It's literally, when you think of the hardest task ever in rugby league, it's got to be marking Greg Inglis. Like, it's got to be marking Greg Inglis. Fuck, honestly. So, yeah, it's a credit to you that you were able to do that. So, 2019 is basically, or 2018, really, is the year that Doggies, you struggled the year before, and Doggies have massive cap pressure. What's it like? What was it like internally there? Because we heard so much about the board and infighting, and it's all Desi's fault. But then, in my mind, I was like, in my opinion, I'm like, well, Desi doesn't make the contracts. It's someone else's job to like make sure that it all comes together. What was it like internally for you guys? Because it was crazy.
Well, Desi's last year was 17, so
17.
he ended up getting moved on.
Yep.
Dean Pay ended up getting signed and obviously had that salary cap pressure. So turning up to training, like there were stories, this player's going here, and it was weekly.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you'd walk into training and someone would be like, where are you going this week? Like, it just became a running joke.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was the new board took over and there was a lot of infighting there. So basically, there was a lot of turmoil at the club. And
what was it like? You know, you played your best footy under Desi. You really got along with him and you liked him as a coach. What was it like for you as a player, seeing him get moved on when... I remember making a video years ago when he did get moved on. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, he's made multiple grand finals. He's a super coach, and it's very rare to find that. What was it like for you as a player?
Yeah, I was obviously disappointed. I thought Desi was a really good coach for myself, and a lot of the other players, like I said, he was extremely loyal and worked extremely hard. You couldn't say a bad word about his work ethic, and I guess that was kind of the members and the board and all the way that kind of stuff panned out. They wanted to get someone from Canterbury back in. They thought that would be the best option. So yeah, Dean Pay got the job, and I really felt for Dino. He had a really hard job there, and we won games and we were competitive in a lot of games, but I think we lost over 10 games by less than 6 points just because we just didn't have the class and the calibre in the spine to get the job done there. And then basically it got time to contract time, and they basically said they can't offer me anything because it was just embarrassing. Like they didn't want to embarrass me by giving me an offer, and that was when it was like, okay, well, my time's up here. It's where to now? It was tough. Obviously, I'd spent 10 years there. Had some great times, some great memories. Met some wonderful people there, not just players but staff and board members as well. But I probably wasn't enjoying my footy as much as what I could have been, and as I was getting older as well, it was, do I go to England and finish my career there, or do I wait to see what happens here? And Cronulla came knocking, and I lived in Cronulla, and it just seemed to be a perfect fit. And, it was probably the best thing for me. It really freshened me up and gave me a new lease, and I ended up playing some really good football there, and made some great mates. Had a great time there, and I'm thankful for that experience.
And so you go across to Cronulla, and as you said, you played some good footy there. You get selected to play for New South Wales 2019 series. Played game 1, where you guys lost 18-14, and you were dropped from the side by Brad Fittler for the second game. I remember speaking to you around this time. And it's you're really disappointed with how that all played out. Do you remember how that all played out? And
I thought I had a pretty good game in the game 1, and then I don't think I even got a call.
Yeah, wow.
For that to let me know that I wasn't in the side, but at that stage I was old enough, big boy.
You understood.
I understood. I kind of told him that I'll play as long as he needs me to play, and that was kind of the agreement. So it wasn't like, shit, be too filthy. I'd said to him, I'll do a job if you need me to do a job until you need me to do it. So, but it was good to know that I could still compete at that level.
Yep.
Although it was bloody fast. I remember looking up and 7 minutes had gone and my ass was hanging out, and I was like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this for another 73 minutes. And I think that first half there was one stoppage for a scrum, and that was like in the 38th minute or something like that. It was a super fast game. Queensland managed to get the win there. I think Dane Gagai got an intercept late to get the win there, but I was happy with the way I performed, and I loved putting on that blue jumper.
And that, again, that year you played some really good footy. You scored 15 tries for the season. You're the Sharks' top try scorer. What's the feeling like at the club? You make the finals, but I think you lose to Manly. What's the feeling like for yourself at the club? Are you enjoying footy? Are you back at the top of your game kind of thing?
Yeah, I had a really enjoyable year. I guess it was just a really good fit for me at that stage. Having a young family, being 5 minutes from training, knowing a lot of the boys that I'd seen around the area anyway. It was just a really enjoyable year, and being Gales last year as well.
Yep. What was that like?
But yeah, it was like the Johnny Farnham show.
What's it like working with a guy like Gal?
Farewell tour. No, it was good. You can see why he's been so successful. His work ethic, and he's dedicated, very dedicated. He was obviously kind of similar to me. The little niggles were starting to pop up, and he wouldn't train some days. But he'd always go out in the field and put in some phenomenal numbers. So it was good to be a part of that in his last year, and he still can't really take a joke. But
okay, so in February 2020, you get an opportunity to sign with the Roosters. Now, how did this all come about? Because it wasn't as simple as the media made out, in my opinion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it didn't seem like it was as simple as, you've got an opportunity to play with your brother, so you're going to bounce. What I got from looking at the Sharks at that time is they had more centres than they needed, and you had Bronson Sherry there, and so it was this weird environment of is Dugan going to play centre? Is Josh going to play centre? And Bronson had already locked it in when it was he hadn't really earned the right to lock it in yet because he was still young. Although he'd showed promise, you're an Origin player, and so was Dugan at the time, and you were both playing some decent footy. How did that all come about, that release? Yeah,
so basically, I think we'd signed Jesse halfway through the year.
Yep. Jesse Raymond, that is.
In the 2019 season.
Yeah.
So they were over the cap already from that.
Yeah.
So
they went and signed him.
So they went and signed him to put themselves over the cap. So they knew they had to get rid of some players. So
have they spoken to you before that at any stage, or Josh?
No. So basically, they'd sent my manager an email, which I didn't know about at the time.
Yeah.
Asking, or pretty much saying that me and Matt Pryor could look elsewhere. So, and then obviously during that pre-season, I was getting moved around fullback and wing and centre, and I was like, I'm a centre. Yeah. I know I am.
Two-time Dally
I was kind of same opinion as you. I thought I was still the best centre at that club. I thought the year before,
scored 15 tries.
Thought the year before I'd really had played some really good football, and I think Johnny Morris at that stage thought that Bronson and Jesse were going to be the centres, and and then Latrell ended up leaving to go to South. Billy Smith hurt himself, so there were obviously a lot of factors before that even happened, and then they still had salary cap issues heading into round one,
that they'd created themselves, and they'd already asked you, even though you didn't know, to bloody...
Yeah, so, we went in and asked for a release. I think it was in February, and might have even been a little bit earlier, and it kind of got knocked down at first. But then I guess they could see that they were still going to be under the same pressures and potentially not playing for points. I think they managed to offload maybe one other player. I think it was Ava, Sia Manafonai. He ended up going over to Super League, but they still had to free up a bit more. I think it might have been they had to free it up before
Round 1.
June or something.
Oh, okay.
So they'd freed it up enough for the start, but then they had to. So someone still had to go.
Yeah.
And I was pretty much the only one that had at that stage an offer.
Yep.
So, it ended up being a bit of a stalemate there for a little bit. But
were you like, what? Like, what?
Well, I obviously went into Bomber's office, John Morris's office, and said, these are the reasons why I still think I'm, the number one centre. It's nothing personal against your coaching. I think you're a great coach, but there's an opportunity to finish alongside my brother, which I would be silly not to take.
Yeah.
So that conversation, I was really honest and upfront, and obviously got knocked back. But then ended up reaching an agreement where I had to play the first 2 rounds for Cronulla and then move across.
Yeah.
And then my first day of Roosters training, we were getting ready to play South. I got there, trained all day, met all the boys, got called back in at 5 o'clock that afternoon, and COVID had shut us down.
Oh, far
So
out.
it was like, hi boys, nice to meet you. See you when I see you.
Far out.
So that was a unique first day, but it was good to have Brett there alongside me, and then it almost was round 5 that I had to stay at the Sharks for.
Okay.
So it got down to round 2, and then obviously in that COVID period, the Xeri suspension got handed out as well.
Yeah.
So that if I'd stayed till round 5, I ended up would have ended up staying there.
Yeah. They wouldn't have allowed you to go there. No way.
It's a bit of a weird one how things work out sometimes.
It's frustrating how the message that was sent from the club, I guess, was basically like you just walked in and gone like, I want to release, when in reality they'd already asked you to move like 6 months before, and it was them signing Remy and that put them over the cap. That wasn't like you didn't do that. I mean, I guess by that, at that stage of your career, are you just like, man, this is footy. This happens every year where players get told one thing and then another thing happens, and is that what you're at?
I think having learnt that from an early age, I guess you just deal with it a whole lot better.
Yep.
You move on, you understand that it's a business, and then, I was obviously lucky enough to go to the Roosters and play alongside. But that COVID period was actually really good because it allowed me to learn all the plays, all the names, all our structures, defensive structures, how we attacked, and then obviously get some training under my belt as well in that period to learn how they train, so that when I came back, I could hit the ground running, and so that actually was probably a blessing. So, had a really good year there in 2020. I guess we had a few injuries throughout that year, but nothing like this year's toll. But
this year was wild.
It's a wonderful club, very professional, very well run. Office staff there are amazing. They all care about you. The calibre of players and their professionalism. I can't speak highly enough of the club, and obviously Robbo. I came there thinking I'd known a fair bit about rugby league, but in that 2 years that I spent there, I learned a hell of a lot off him. Yeah,
wow. What's something that Robbo does that really separates him from the rest?
I guess it's the way his philosophies on football and breaking down the game and how it can be played, and not just the physical aspects of the game, the mental and the psychological aspects of it as well. And he does stuff outside of the box, But, it works. And
Yep.
like I said, I learned a hell of a lot off him in that 2 years that I spent there.
And so 2021, this is something really interesting to talk about, especially for the fans that listen to this show, or the community, sorry. You get sent a message on Instagram by a young 21-year-old. Says, F you dog C, you effed up my multi. I'm out the front of Lou Mart Stadium waiting for your bus to rock up. Wait till you walk out of that back door. You won't know what hit ya. My God. And then you obviously just obviously put a post up saying this stuff needs to stop. I guess give an insight into fans, that shit happens all the time for you guys.
It happens all the time. I would have had heaps of messages.
Yeah.
Not like that, but, score a try this week or you'll stuff up my mouldy.
Oh, my God, mate.
Yeah, and then, you stuffed up my mouldy, I needed you to score. But then, obviously, that one, we'd just come off after a big win and, I checked my phone, see my messages, and then just had a quick look and saw that and went, I'm not copping that. I'm 34 years old.
Yeah.
There's a way to talk to people, and that's not it. And
yeah.
if I can, I guess, show the younger fellas that, that type of behaviour is not acceptable if it's coming from me, well, then that gives them a lot of confidence to deal with it the same way. And I guess it was more a teaching to that young fella as well that, we're not just footballers, we're people as well. Yep. So I think he learned his lesson pretty quick after that one.
Mate, I think it's so good that you did it, because also the community and rugby league fans need to know you'll be held accountable. If you're thinking about sending something like that, there may be a chance where your name gets plastered everywhere that you're that piece of shit that sent that disgusting message.
We're held accountable for our actions every day.
Absolutely.
So, if we, as a footballer, you've got to represent the club well, and and on the field as well, and off the field. And like I said, it was more so, if any of the young players were facing that kind of stuff as well and didn't know how to deal with it, well, then it was more about, well, this is how you go about it.
Yep.
Don't let it get to you. And the messages that I got, the support that I got off a lot of the players as well was really positive, and I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. Yeah, to be honest.
Mate, I think it's so good that you did it. So good, especially stuff like that's disgraceful. Like, a lot of fans don't realise is that, or maybe they do realise, I don't know. But if someone sends you a message say, "Oh, I don't think you played that well," you jammed in and you should have. Most footy players just like, "All right, yeah, okay, it's your opinion." Like, those messages are just like whatever. It's the outrageous shit like that where you're like, mate, there's a line between just you being a dick online to outrageous piece of shit online.
Yeah. Latrell came out earlier this year, and when he had a few people write DMs, and that stuff was awesome to see him do that as well. He's taken a stand there, and for him to do that might inspire some other people to do it as well. So absolutely. I think that was really positive for him to come out and do that and show the younger kids as well that that kind of behaviour won't be tolerated.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this year, what was it like being inside the just decimation of injury? Like, oh, fuck, what were you all looking around going, what's going on here?
Mate, some days me and Robbo would laugh. We're like, I'd go, who's playing this week? And he'd be like, and we'd just look at each other and just laugh. And, it was crazy. I think some days we didn't even have enough players to do 13 on 13, and Craig Fitz, as young kid, was up there. He was 16 or something. He was playing on the wing for a couple of our opposed sessions. That's just wild. To fill in.
Yeah.
Mate, but hats off to Robbo. The amount of young kids we saw come through.
Yep.
And probably wouldn't have thought that they'd get a game this year. He played numerous games, and I want to get down to the pre-season at some stage and watch them do an opposed session, because there's blokes coming back that are first graders and kids now that think they're first graders. It's going to make for one hell of a pre-season for them, and I think they can go all the way next year.
Absolutely.
For sure.
With Keary back, Collins, you get Tedesco not having to take as much responsibility on board. You got Suwali, who's had a year. Billy Smith, who's been really unfortunate, but he's also a gun. You bought Momorowski.
Yeah.
I mean, Joey Manu, if you get to keep, I mean, he'll be there definitely this year. But What was it like seeing a guy like a Suwali who, you know, basically looks like he'll probably be a centre, maybe fullback, but at this stage probably a centre, you know, being one of the best centres of the last generation? What was it like seeing a guy like that coming through?
Mate, yeah, crazy. Like, these kids, like,
It's wild.
they're getting bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
Like, there's steps, they can throw the ball 30 metres. Like, he's going to be a phenomenal talent no matter what sport he plays.
Yeah.
You know, he's just got that body shape, you know, and a really good kid, really respectful, wants to learn, asks lots of questions. You know, those are the types of kids you want to help out. They're not stuck up. They don't have an ego, and yeah, he could, you know, like,
Absolutely.
young kid getting paid a lot of money.
We see it all the time.
You know, as the next big thing, but you know, he's taken that weight on his shoulders, and the way he handles himself is a credit to himself, and he's got a massive future in the game.
Mate, absolutely. Mate, so you when did you know for sure I'm going to retire? When did that decision come?
I don't know if I can really pinpoint, but certainly the hammy injury was like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I'd had thought about it, but yeah, I thought I'd played my last game then.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, because I'd never done a hammy before, and I was like, it felt like I'd done a pretty decent job of it, and it wasn't really. I wasn't really sprinting or anything like that where you'd normally get them. I just kind of got my ankle stuck and reached out and just felt it go bang.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, that's probably a decent sign. And, you know, I kind of, at that stage, I was like, oh, I just want to go home. I was like over it.
Yeah.
And then
Don't have that
I was
energy.
like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But, you know, I spoke to my wife and Brett, and they're like, you don't want to end like that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true.
So they said basically I could be anywhere from 6 to 8, and I ended up playing in 5.
Wow.
Just because we were up there in the bubble, I wasn't doing it. I was just constantly just doing extra stuff on my hammy strength work. I already had pretty strong hammies.
Yep.
But yeah, I was just, wherever I could, I was just trying to do extra stuff just to try and get back, and I'm really glad that I didn't. Was able to go out on my own terms.
Absolutely. Especially an ultimate professional like yourself. Like, that's what you built your career on. Is always being in good shape, always rocking up in the right frame of physical and mental. Ask all the boys his favourite rapper of all time.
Favourite rapper? I don't know. Mate, I used to love Nelly, like in high school.
Nelly was gun.
Nelly was gun in high school.
He was gun.
Nelly, 50 Cent. I don't even listen to rap music anymore.
No,
more country and stuff like that these days.
Who's the GOAT country singer then?
I like Luke Combs.
Luke Combs?
Yeah.
Okay, Luke Combs. Favourite movie of all time?
One movie I always really enjoy is Snatch.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Such a fucking good movie.
It's one of my favourites, and I like all those kind of English gangster movies. Like I watched The Gentleman again the other night.
Great
and really
movie.
enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Lock, Stock, Two Smoking
Yeah,
Barrels.
that's a classic.
I really enjoy watching those films. They're funny, but you know, there's a good storyline to them as
and
well.
a good twist in that, and twists and turns.
Yeah, so I'd have to say that's one of my favourites.
Mate, thank you so much for coming on the show, guys. Everyone listening, make sure to grab a case of Cattleman's Brewing Co. Mate,
this was warm and I'm still drinking it. That's how good they are.
That's how good it is. So make sure to grab one. Mate, I wish you all the best in this endeavour. I think you'll absolutely kill it. And thanks for coming on, brother.
No worries, my pleasure.
Boom.